So we were talking about taking proficiency exams as English teachers, and the moment that we notice that our English is not that good and we might feel insecure about it, we're not sure if the level is our level is B2, B1, C1, C2, and sometimes we have a hard time to speak English and feel insecure as well. And that was the first question. This is a meeting for teachers only, and we're sharing some teaching experiences. Not only we are teachers, but also students forever, right? So some of us have taught children and teenagers, adults, and yeah, we are teachers, but also students. Well, the next question to you is, did you ever have a student telling you something negative concerning how you teach? I'm going to repeat. Did you understand? Did you ever have a student telling you that your teaching is not that good? Well, let me go first. I never had a student telling me that my teaching was not good. I had some students comparing me with other teachers, like, oh, that teacher, she's more cool, you know? She's like cooler than the other one. Because when I go to teaching, I usually have this straight face, this like serious face, you know? And students might get kind of nervous. When I was teaching at language courses, they felt like I was really, let's say, I don't know, bossy or something like that. So, but they have never commented to something that I was teaching. I have taught in Brasilia as well, but it was just for a short time, you know. And yeah, I had another student telling me that my accent was not as native, yes, as the other teacher. Like I replaced the teacher there, you know. And as I was in a different states of Brazil, they were all from Brasilia, right? And they kind of noticed the accent by that time. This happened like a few years ago, you know. But concerning my teaching, it's not exactly directed to my teaching, but it's related to my personality. Um, as a person, yeah, you know what I mean? Not as a teacher, my personality, how I speak, how I come off as a person, if I am serious, if I am extroverted, if I'm not extroverted, if I am feminine or not, because students, they take notice of everything, everything in class, how you dress, how you come off. And, but I've never like had this situation that student telling me, oh, you're, you know, you should be dressed like this or like that. No, it's just that they notice everything about you, because I taught teenagers as well and adults, so they kind of are really aware of how you come off to everyone, I guess. Yes, I think that's it. What about you, Ikaru?
Um, well, I have, uh, I think every teacher who has had some experiences, they have had situations in which they have been compared to other teachers, right? But fortunately, most of my experiences are that my students like what I do in classes, you know. But there are some few students who sometimes are too attached to the previous teachers, you know, and they who has never been attached to the favorite teachers, right? And sometimes they would say or mention, "Oh, I would like to be taught by the other teacher who I liked so much, who you know, who taught me so well, you know." I mean, sometimes this relationship between students and teachers are they are they are too complex. You know, they depend on what on the context. So many things. It depends on many things. Sometimes we get too attached to teachers, so that's not a problem. We shouldn't let it go to our minds. You know, like it's not because we are doing something wrong. It's not because of that. It's because we are not like at that moment maybe with that student we are not compatible, you know. Sometimes it happens. That's why generally in English courses, there is this exchange, you know, like you have this teacher this semester, you have that other teacher on another semester, you know, so that they can get like used to different styles of teaching, different styles of speaking, different types of teachers, you know. I think that's it.
I feel that it's all about also about your personality. You know what I mean? Every teacher has its own one styles, right? Some teachers they are funnier, I guess, and more serious. I don't know, and the personality shows off. I mean, comes off, and it just shows when you are a teacher. That's what I think, you know. And yeah, they might compare you, and I think it might have to do with the personality. I'm not sure, but Aline, share your experience?
So first and foremost, I'm not very experienced, so I don't have many situations. However, I'd like to share two things. When I was doing my, how do you say estágio?
I think it's internship. I think it's
Internship in a public
yes.
school in Brazil. So those are hours that are compulsory that you have to do to graduated, you know? So in a public school in Brazil. And it was a disaster. I know it was horrible. My teacher, my tutor wanted me to do things that weren't for those children. It was a public school. It was a poor area. They didn't have a good, the school wasn't great, and the level of their English was completely different than the level that the teacher wanted me to prepare the classes. Okay, so yeah, plus I wasn't experienced because I was just finishing my graduation. So, you know, and then I remember one boy used to tell me, I used to give him the sheets, and then he was like, I'll throw it. I won't learn anything. And I think he was right, actually. I think he was right because I wasn't ready and the things were too hard for those children. I think my tutor saw a fairy tale. I would like that they would learn that they could learn those things, but the reality is different. You know, sometimes the university in Brazil is too far from reality. Plus, now I've been teaching a girl and she's C1 level. So her English is, you know, she's just starting. And then it just happened a few weeks ago. I was teaching her, I tried to teach her the infinitive too, you know, I need to eat, I need to go to the shop. And she didn't get it. She didn't get it. She didn't get it. And then one day she told me, her cousin is an English teacher. And then she told me, Aline, I got it. She told me that in Portuguese is like this. Like we say, comer, jantar, that. So the teacher was able to teach her in associating Portuguese. So it was much more clear for her. So she told me, I finally learned with her. And then I felt a bit sad, you know. But she was kind of sharing with me in a nice way. She was telling me, no, teacher, I'll tell you how she explained me so you know. It was sweet. But I felt insecure. I felt, you know, we are silly. I felt exposed, maybe. She's from Brazil, from São Paulo. Yeah, so I didn't know because I'm not experienced enough. And again, as I said already, as I am used to English in my real life, sometimes I don't know how to bring to Portuguese the things. Yeah, that's my experience. I don't know if it was helpful.
Yes, Icaro, go ahead and share, right?
Well, you know, I think I am a depth of that theory related to complexity. You know, like I think that it might be related with the fact that she's like very much more. She has intimacy with her family members, you know. And sometimes when family members teach, they don't have those boundaries that we have as teachers, you know. So she might explain. She might have explained in a way that a family member would explain, you know, that you couldn't be able to explain because you're not a family member. Sometimes that happens to me, you know. Sometimes I have students who have family members who speak English already, and they sometimes understand because that sibling or uncle or aunt explained in a way that they could understand, but that's not my fault, you know. That's because they are much more used to the family members who live with them and the way they say, the way they speak, the way they explain things, that they naturally understand better from them, you know, sometimes. But they are not their teachers. We are their teachers, you know. So, so I understand what you feel because I have felt like that before, you know. So, but we shouldn't like lose our hairs because of that, you know. It's natural. I think it is like that thing that I told you before. It's complex. It's a complex process. You know, learning is a complex process. Sometimes we learn from our family what we can't learn with our teachers. It's natural, you know. And sometimes we learn from our teachers what we can't learn with our parents because sometimes our parents are strict, too much strict. Our families are too much strict with some topics, you know. So that's what I think.
A nice, interesting point of view, actually.
Yeah, I think we tend to compare ourselves with other people, like, right? If especially if we don't have much experience. Like, I had experience with language courses before, but as I like got out of practice for years, I feel that I am a new teacher. You know, I feel that I am a new teacher. You know, that I have to learn more teaching skills. And yeah, that Icaro said that, you know, the student is surrounded by many things. Now that we have technology, he's going to learn something, he or she's going to learn something out of an Instagram page, out of Facebook, social medias. English is everywhere, you know. So I think the teacher is not the only one responsible for the learning process, you know. Like the students, they are so connected these days, and they get more vocabulary, even grammar. You know, they can search grammar topics. I know that you might feel that you have failed, you know, to explain to her and stuff, but I don't blame yourself for that. You know, don't put yourself down for that. You know, because there are other ways to learn, not only the teacher. You yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I like your point of view as well. And I would like to add something. And then I was thinking, imagine if you are a native speaker teacher. For, and why would you know about comer, jantar? Like, and then you because we tend to respect native speakers more. That's a fact, unfortunately. And then imagine this teacher, the native speaker teacher, what he would do with this girl. Because when she told me about the jantar, comer, and etc., I know what she's saying. It makes sense. But for the native speakers, it wouldn't do. So maybe native speakers might be useful from a certain level.
Want to share anything, guys? Icaro, Lucas, you want to share anything?
I want to share, but I want to know if Lucas wants to say something because I feel like I'm speaking too much. So Lucas, say something.
Yeah, the first question was about if we had some negative experience while teaching. And I had one, and I learned a very nice lesson from this bad experience. It was with one student. No, it was one of my friends. He said he wanted to learn a little bit how to pronunciate the words better. He said, I already know how to speak English. I know a lot, and I just want to pronunciate better. I know those grammar things and they are not important. I just want to speak better. And I thought, like, if he just wants to improve his pronunciation, we could use some text. And while he read, I teach him how to pronunciate words correctly. But unfortunately, he was lying. He said he knew a lot, but in reality, he didn't know that much. So when we started reading, it was a really tiring class. And then he said to me, like, he thought that the class was tiring. And I agreed with him. It was usually the classes in 1 hour, it seems to pass in 10 minutes. That 1 hour, it lasted the entire hour. And that's it. So one lesson that I learned is that sometimes the student wants to say, I want to learn this, and that's what I need. But while teaching, I always have to make some adjustments, because even though the person may think they know what they need, usually they don't. And it's a lesson that I learned. When I teach someone, I try to do something that I know that will be better for their level. And in the first class, I always listen to what the person say, how they say, and I evaluate how much the person knows, because it's weird. People tend to, they sometimes think they know too little when they know more than they know, or they know too little and think they are fluent. So I've got to make that balance.
Thanks, Lucas. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, yes. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
and that's interesting because you as a teacher, Lucas, you know that a language is not one skill. But your friend didn't know that.
Yeah.
He thought that, no, I will learn this and that's fine. Forget the grammar. But language is a set of things.
Yeah, and what I understood is probably he knows a lot of English and he probably reads a lot when he's alone. But he reads a certain topic like video games and just reading those things. And he thinks, no, I know everything. And in the class, I was trying to do exactly what he wanted. He wanted just the pronunciation. I thought, oh, I'm going to teach him just pronunciation. But it was a tiring class because he didn't understand a lot of what he was saying. And when you're just learning how to pronunciate words you don't understand, the class is annoying. It's boring. So it was an important lesson that I learned in the beginning. And that's it. We have to, as teachers, we have to evaluate our students, and we have to make the decision what's best for them. Even though we say like the active learning, the students should know, most of the time they don't. I have had some students that they used to think like, I know nothing about English. I know very little. But when I taught them,
Breaking connection, Lucas.
I
Connection is not good.
and they learn it. They might not know, but is it better? Worse?
Yeah, it got better.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, I was just saying that sometimes we have some students that don't know how much they know. Some underestimate, some think they are better than they are. And we as teachers, we have to evaluate that and give the best class for their level, which is a challenge for us.
It's always a challenge being a teacher. Right?
Yeah.
Icaro, you're going to say something, right? Go ahead. You still want to say something?
Yeah. I have taken some notes here. I'd like to tell you guys a little bit about the myth of proficiency tests, because we have discussed that. And what I have to tell you is that, like, there are lots of native speakers who take those proficiency tests and they don't get C2. Okay,
Yeah, that's true.
native speakers. So what it gives to me, like what does it say to me? It says that proficiency tests, they cannot test your full potential, you know. There are no such tests, you know. It doesn't exist. It's an attempt. Those tests are attempts to test what you know, but they are not perfect, you know. So this is a myth, you know. Yes, Giselle, say something. You want to say something? Tell us.
I was watching a lecture by Igor Cavalcanti. I don't know if you've ever heard about him. He's a vice president of Brastiso, which is an association for teachers, National Association for English Teachers. And his lecture was on the lack of vocabulary and language development knowledge or courses related to teachers. He was saying that because teachers don't speak that much and they have lower levels, so the native speaker comes off as the best teacher, you know, because the Brazilian teachers mostly they don't speak English, they don't practice, they don't improve their English like by taking courses for self-development. And you know, if a student like shows up, oh, I want English teaching classes, he had to pick the best one, right? The best teacher. So if you have to choose between like a teacher that doesn't speak English that much or a native English teacher, you know, the student will pick the native. So if it like Igor was saying that if we don't improve and keep improving, you know, that's what's gonna happen, you know. The student will pick the native English teacher, even though that person has nothing to do with teaching, has never taken any teaching classes or has any degree whatsoever. And that's kind of depressing because, you know, sometimes teachers, they have degrees, they have been working hard and stuff like that. But I think in Brazil, it's a reality nowadays that the native English teachers are more valued than the non-native English teachers. From my perspective, there is this like big thing about how the native speaker knows, English teacher knows best because he's a native, you know. We have this kind of
Yeah.
thing here going on in Brazil, you know.
I
And
have lots of things to say about that.
yeah, that's a really controversial kind of topic, you know. Yeah, yes, please. I cut you off, you know. I'm sorry, I just had to speak my mind, you know. So go
I
ahead.
understand, no problems. I was about to say that I understand what Aline said before. Like you're living like a native, right? You're living in Dublin, right? So I understand that for native speakers, it is a lot harder for them to teach non-native speakers because they do not have knowledge on the native language of the other their students, you know. Uh, and it is something to be thinking about because you know when you learn a second language and you are an adult already, you are always going to compare with your native language, you know, because the process of acquiring the first language is different from the process of acquiring the second language, you know, because when you acquire the second language, you have an entire structure in your mind already set. It is different for kids. That's why kids learn better because they do not have their first language already settled in their minds, you know? So it is important. It depends on the context where you are. Of course, you can teach. You can teach people only by using the target language. It's possible. But they are always going to look for ways of comparing, you know, their native language with the target language. So here it comes again to that example that you gave, like the student who went to her cousin, right? Yes, she went because, you know, she was looking for ways to compare, you know, the language that she's learning with the language that she already knows. So that is not a problem. She can learn. That's why I am telling you, learning is a process that goes beyond the classroom. So we have our role as teachers, but it is not only us who are gonna teach them. You know, mostly it is us, but it's not only us. You know, uh, I forgot what I was going to say next, but go on. Sometime I will remember.
Can you hear me? I would like to share two things about native teachers and teachers that, like us, learn English as a second language. There are different levels for each one. Like in the beginning, a native teacher that doesn't speak our native language, it's not good because they can't teach us. They don't know our language. So in the beginning, it's awesome to have teachers that know your native language and the target language. But as you develop and you can speak English and use it to express ideas and to learn with the new language, native teachers, they can be really helpful because when they speak, even though English is natural for us, for them it's a little bit more because they use it for their entire life. It's the only language they know, and so they are useful in when you are more advanced. So native speakers and second language. And about teachers at school, I had one complaint. I studied in a private school and the teaching there was awesome. My English teacher, she knew a lot about grammar, and I think that no matter how hard I study, I will never know as much as she did. But unfortunately, realize how she didn't realize the level of the students in the class. Because my classmates, most of them, they could speak English, they could understand, and most of them would go to private classes outside our school. So most of them had a really good English. So our teacher, she could, want more from us and try to speak sometimes, use English more often, but she wouldn't. Sometimes I would go to her on her desk and try to speak in English with her. I was learning, and she wouldn't speak in English with me, and I think that's depressing. Even though she knew a lot of English, she would not use it with us. And so I think that the teachers should always see the level of their students. If their students are better, you should make the class harder. If the students are not good at all, you should make it easier so they can pick up the pace.
Yes. Go
But
ahead,
that's the problem about a big group, you know. You know what I mean?
Go ahead.
That's the problem about a big group, because probably your English was great, but then the other boy there wasn't. See, that's the problem about big groups.
Yeah, I understand this problem, but imagine, I know she can't make a class for each student, but when I went to talk with her about something and I was trying to use the English, I think that she should give me a special attention and try to answer that, or try to say, oh, you said that wrong, try to say in this way. But she would just ignore it and try to teach for the group without respecting the differences between some students. And even though some students clearly had more difficulties in the time, I don't think that the teacher should, hold back the entire class because of one or two. At least that's something I think.
Yeah.
Is there anything you want to share? Just as a reminder, we have 10 minutes left, and then we draw some conclusions about today's meeting, like if you got the benefit out of taking part in this meeting, So, yes, Ikaru. Yes.
Hikaru wants to say something.
Yeah, about regular schools in Brazil, that is a situation, right? Because most of our schools, either if they are public or regular, they are targeted at vestibular. So since they are targeted at vestibular, they're gonna teach you how to interpret and read texts, you know? So it is also related to grammar, you know? So the thing is getting everybody to go to the university. That is the main objective, the main goal of English in Brazilian education, you know, which is wrong, you know, but it is a political issue too, you know, because we are not being taught English to use English in our lives. We are being taught to go to the university to pass vestibular, you know, and we all know that the knowledge that we acquire to to get to the university is not useful at all because we only acquire it to get to the university. When you get there, you're not going to use what you have learned, most of the things that you have learned in the university, you know. So it is a matter of like redefining the goals in Brazilian education. So that's why we suffer a lot with that, you know. We have people when we are in high school, we have people levels because everybody's there because they have passed from a year to another, you know. Independent, maybe they went bad in English last year, but they got right in all the other subjects. So they are there with you. You know, it is a matter of reformulating, you know, the way. That's why in the United States, sometimes the way they teach works because they have college, which is like technicist schools, you know. Not everybody's going to the university, you know. Not everybody wanting. Yes,
No,
yes.
please. Our friend Giza Giza, are you there?
Oh,
Poor Giza.
Giza is frozen.
Okay. I'll ask if she can hear.
Oh, that's
I love I love how you read the situation, Icaro. It's really brilliant. Because in reality, that's it. Teachers are not. My teacher, she was teaching me how to pass. I learned English with her because I used everything I learned in school on the private course that I did outside the school. So it was useful, but for most people, what she taught just enter 1 year and got out in the other because they didn't use it. The teacher was teaching something that the teacher herself didn't use. Go ahead, Aline.
Sorry. And one thing that I want to share is because I think that this is kind of an universal issue apart from a few countries, even in Europe, I'm saying. You know, in Europe, if it's not like Scandinavia, maybe Holland, Germany, people don't speak English. And here where I live in Ireland, which English is the first language, people struggle a lot to learn another language. Their second language school skills are one of the worst in Europe. Firstly, because they speak English, and we have to say, people who speak English, they don't, the majority, they are not that excited to learn another language because the word is made for them. Everything is easy if you speak English.
Yeah.
Okay. And secondly, because language is a difficult issue all over the world. It's not only in Brazil. Of course, Brazil, many issues, third world country and things like that, unfortunately, South America. But this is hard. Teaching a second language is a very hard issue at school. That's a big challenge. That's what I want to say.
Yeah, I agree totally. I agree.
Yeah. And
we have a difficult mission.
Yeah, that
right. We have a difficult mission.
Of course. And I do think that people who, I don't know if you agree with me, guys, but some people who speak English, they don't, I see this here, okay? They tell me, I have an intermediate, I forgot how to say. Intermediate Spanish or French. And then I start to speak with them in Spanish. And then they're like, hola, todo bien? okay, and you know, and they start to speak English, because I think English, it's everywhere, so you kind of you don't know how hard it is. You don't know what is a B1, B2, intermediate. You don't know, because you're just.
Yeah, yeah. I get your point. That's it. That's totally true. Is Giza there?
No, she's
No.
not there. She's not there. She is in that same position for the last 10
10
minutes.
minutes.
Lucas, you were about to say something related to the topic.
Yeah, about English. People who speak English as a first language has a difficulty. What language are they going to choose to speak next? Because the one they
I
know,
wish I had this
opening more
difficult.
doors and
A big problem. I want this problem. It's a nice
yeah,
problem.
yeah, my language is the one that people use in the entire world. Which one will I learn next? It won't be as useful as the first one, but yeah, I don't know which one I will choose.